The exercise files for today's course are located in the video description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hi everyone, my name is Trish Connor-Cato. This course is for any user who has prior Tableau experience. With so many competing technologies, Tableau has emerged as a powerful favorite in the world of business intelligence solutions. This course will take your Tableau skills to the next level by teaching you best practices along with the most sought-after dashboard designs. You're about to embark upon an intense but amusing journey that will provide you with an arsenal of innovative techniques. Your new tool set will help you reuse your current Tableau worksheets and to create new ones for the purpose of including those worksheets on dashboards that you will be proud to share. Users will enjoy interacting with your dashboards for the purpose of getting deep analytical information from them, and they will be impressed with their flexibility. Most important, the class will overview various business scenarios that translate into different types of dashboards, and you will leave with that understanding. By the end of the course, you should be able to create effective dashboards on your own, and you will also walk away with class files that help you get a head start. In each module, we'll work with a specific data set and build visualizations to be used on our dashboards. In the fifth module, we will switch our focus to a world population data set. We'll learn about ranking, correlation, stories, pivoting, and validating data joins while building our vizzes for our dashboards. Module 6 will see us working with a USA colleges data set. We'll learn how to use the STARTSWITH function before moving on to using calculated values as filters. We'll format layers and learn about values and headers aliases.
Looking to support our channel and get a great deal? Become a member today to unlock ad-free videos. That's right, your favorite courses without a single ad. Interested in a specific video? Purchase one of our ad-free courses individually. Looking for even more? Gain access to exams, certificates, and exclusive content at LearnitAnytime.com. More information can be found in the video description below.
In this module, we'll be working with the world population data set, and we'll start by learning about ranking, then correlation, before switching our focus to stories, pivoting, and validating data joins. Since our first lesson is about ranking in Tableau, we're going to go over some information that will be useful for you to have in the background before we begin. You'll be able to see all of this once we build the visualization. So Tableau has 5 rank functions. So each of them does something slightly different. The base one, rank, gives you the ranking within your ordered partition. Ties are assigned the same rank with the next rankings skipped. So let's say we have 2 values of 32 and they have a rank of 3. The next value, 33, will have a rank of 5 as the rank of 3 is repeated twice. So the numbers are skipped by the number of repeated values. You have a rank modified function, which is very similar to rank, and ties are assigned the same rank. However, there will be a gap before the repeated rank. Rank dense, like the 2 previous functions, is very much like the 2 previous functions. However, there are no gaps. Rank unique assigns rank values despite repeated values. There are no gaps and no ties. And rank percentile is the value below which a percentage, a percentile is the value below which a percentage of data fails. Rank can be repeated. And I need to update this slide. It should say data instead of date. And that will be done before you have it in your video description. All of the rank functions can be used with an optional argument of ASC for ascending or DESC for descending. Now, our world population, we have 4 different files. 2 of them are comma separated values, and 2 of them are Excel worksheets. We're going to use all 4 files, but initially we're going to start with the Excel worksheet files. So we have world population and population by age group. So in Tableau, I'm going to use Excel this time and navigate to my world population folder. And so it shows the 2 Excel workbook files. And I'm going to double click world population. And let's go up next to connections and add. And we're going to do Excel again. And we're going to grab the population by age group and bring that in. Let's drag the population by age group sheet to the logical layer. And you see that it automatically detected a relationship based on the country field. Let's double click on that world population tile so we get to the physical layer. And we're going to drag population by age group there as well. And it automatically creates the inner join based on the country field. So now we have a joined data set. And so if you're looking at the bottom, you're seeing all of your fields from world population. And then as you go to your right, you'll see the fields from population by age group. And because it's the common field is country, what we're going to do is we're going to hide the population by age group country field so we don't have it duplicating. And so you see that population by age group, right? It has the total population by age group. It has the 65 plus, 25 to 64 years, 15 to 24, 5 to 14, and 0 to 4. World population data includes a rank. The CCCA3 field is like the abbreviations of the country names. We have the country, the capital, the continent, 2022 population, 2020, 2015, 2010, 2000, 1990, 1980, 1970. And then we have the area, the density, the growth rate, and the world population percent. So that's what we're working with here in terms of data. Let's go ahead and save our file. I'm going to name it World Population. We're going to go to sheet 1 and we're going to drag. So let's do this because we've seen this already. Even though we hid it on the data source screen, let's hide the country field under population by age group so we don't get confused as to which one we want to use. And let's drag our country field from world population to rows. And since we're not going to use the built-in rank measure at all, I'm going to go ahead and hide it. And so we're going to create several calculated fields for using the rank functions that we reviewed on the slides. So I'm going to go and do my drop down and create a calculated field. And this one I'm going to name rank-ASC, period. I'm going to click where I can put in the function, and I'm going to grab the rank function, and then I'm going to grab the sum function, and I want the sum of the world population percentage. And once you tab that in, notice that it has you flashing in between the 2 closing parentheses. And so that's where you use the rank optional arguments of ASC or DESC. And we're going to do a single quote, ASC, close the single quote. And then we're going to press. So notice it says the calculation contains errors, and there's like a wavy red underline underneath that first quote before ASC. That's because I forgot to have you type a comma before that. So we have to separate the arguments of the function with a comma. So it's going to give us an ascending rank of the sum of the world population percentage. Go ahead and click OK. And we're not going to drag it into the view just yet. What we want to do is go underneath our measure names, and you'll see your rank-ASC. You're going to right click on it, and you're going to copy. And then you're just going to right click anywhere in your field list. So I want to right click anywhere over there and choose paste. So we're going to create all of the calculated fields we need by copying and pasting until we're done, and then we'll add them to the view. So with that copy of rank ASC, I'm going to right click on it and edit it. And I'm going to click after rank in the formula there. And I'm going to type an underscore. And you'll immediately see the other rank functions show up on the list. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just click on rank modified. And we're going to change the name at the top. So at the top, click after the word rank before the hyphen and type modified. So it should say rank modified -ASC, and we can get rid of the 1 indicating the copy at the end of the name. Click OK. At this point, you can just right click in your field list and paste again. And then you have your rank, your pasted rank ascending 1. We're going to right click and edit it. Let's change the name of this one first. So after rank at the top, before the hyphen, we're going to do dense space, get rid of the 1 at the end. And we're going to click after rank in the formula, do the underscore, and click on rank dense and OK. And now we're going to right click and paste again. We're going to edit our pasted one. And this one, so we did modified, we did dense. We're going to underscore, and we're going to start, oops, I'm doing it in the name. So this one, I'm sorry, in the name, we're going to make it rank unique and get rid of the 1. And then do your underscore in the function and grab rank unique. And click OK. So right now we have rank dense, rank modified, rank unique, all in ascending order. We're going to paste again. And for this one, when we edit it, we're going to change the name first to rank DESC. In that second argument, ASC in the formula, we're going to change that to DESC. And I forgot to get rid of the 1 in the name. Click OK. Now, so we don't have to keep changing it from ASC to DESC. We're going to right click and copy rank DESC and then paste. And this one is going to be, we're going to change the name first, rank modified -DESC, and then do your thing with the underscore in the formula and grab modified. So I'm going to have you do 2 more copies. You're going to make 1. So we're doing modified together. You're going to make 1 dense and then 1 unique for descending. So now you should have 8 different rank measures 4 for ascending, 4 for descending. I forgot to do the percentile one, so I'm going to recopy rank ascending, paste it, and we need to edit that so that it's rank percentile with the appropriate name, and do it for descending as well. So now we should have our 10 calculated fields under measure names. Go ahead and save your file. So now that we have that done, let's drag our measure names field to the filter shelf. We're going to select none, scroll to the bottom or toward the bottom, and we're going to select all of the rank calculated fields that we just created. And we're also going to select the world population percentage measure. So all of our ranks and world population percentage. And we're going to click OK. We don't have to show that filter. Now we're going to drag measure names to columns. And we're going to drag measure values to rows after country. And then go to your show me and change it to a text table. And so let's first start by widening the columns. I'm putting my mouse between any two columns and dragging a little bit to the right. And I want to make sure I see this world population percentage, but I don't want it to say the word percentage. I want it to be the percent sign. So I'm going to right click on that heading, and I'm going to choose Edit Alias, double click percentage, and type the percent symbol, and click OK. And now I'm going to widen it because that would be the widest column heading, I believe. World population percentage. I'm going to collapse my show me. And actually, I'm going to edit the alias again. And I'm going to abbreviate population to just POP with a period. That way, I don't have to have it as wide. I think this one. Yeah, the descending, the rank percentile descending would be the column that we need to make the widest so we can see that. And then we want to organize this a little bit. So under the marks card in the measure values, we want rank ascending. And then we're going to move it. We're going to move rank dense ascending underneath it. So we have all of our ascendings together. And then we want our rank modified ascending and rank percentile ascending. And then rank descending, rank dense descending, modified descending, percentile descending. Oops, I forgot my unique ascending. I'm going to put unique under modified. So I have them organized. So I have rank ascending, then dense, modified, unique, and percentile, and then descendings, dense, modified, unique, percentile, and then the world population percentage. So you'll notice in the list of measure values under your marks card, all of them have like a triangle to the right of them. That's because rank and all of the rank functions basically are what are known as table calculations. And so they have that triangular icon. For the rank ascending one, we're going to do the drop down arrow. Let's go to edit table calculation. So it's actually going across the table. You can stay in that box. Just watch me for a moment. So here, if I widen the columns, it's saying along. If I go into the calculated field and edit it, At the top, it says results are computed along table across, right? And we could have changed it from in here by clicking on default table calculation. So instead of opening each function, we're going to use the drop down next to the measure value, and we're going to hover over compute using, and we're going to choose country. And we're going to do that for all of them in the list. Just hover over compute using country. It's a lot more efficient than opening each calculated field to make that edit. And when you do all of that, your headings should now all say along country, except for the world population percentage at the end. And so we don't need it to say all of that. So we're going to edit all of these aliases. So I'm going to right click on rank ASC along country, edit the alias, and just get rid of the words along country. And do that for all the rest of your headers. And now I'm going to right click on any header there and rotate the label. And then I can decrease my column width because now they don't have to be that wide. So I can see everything pretty much. I'm going to do it down just a little bit more. So I don't have to scroll across to view any of the headings anymore. So now we're going to change the orders of our ranking in the view so that we can see them and compare them more clearly. We're going to click on the rank ASC heading, and you'll see the sort country ascending by measure values icon. And there's also a sort country descending by measure values icon. We're going to click on the sort country ascending by measure values icon. When we do that, we'll see that our data updated. And now it's sorted by country, right? According to their ranks. So this first one, the basic rank function, numbers are skipped by the number of repeated values and it has ties. So you're seeing a bunch of ones and then you'll get to 57, right? So, and then as you scroll down, you have a bunch of 57s, then it goes to 75 and then 84. So you're seeing the repeats and you're seeing the skipped rankings because again, the numbers are skipped by the number of repeated values and you will have ties. When we look at our rank dense ASC, you'll see that we have our ones there, right? And as we scroll down, so there are no gaps. It goes from ones to twos to threes to fours. So we don't have that gap in numbers when you're using the rank dense function. You can also see that rank modified, the gaps happen, right, before the repeated rank. So it doesn't go from 1 to 57. It starts with 56. And then you'll see the next gap, 74s, so on and so forth. So for modified, the gap happens before the repeated rank. And then we look at unique, and there are no gaps and no ties, just sequential ranking numbers here. And then the percentile, again, the rank can be repeated, but it's showing the percentile of values, showing the value below which a percentage of the data falls. So we have all of our rank functions ascending and in descending order in the same table here. Let's go ahead and save. And we're going to name this sheet Country Ranking by World Population. And I'm going to use the percent sign. And I'm going to spell ranking correctly, because that would probably be helpful. Now we're going to start formatting the values in our table. So I'm going to just right click in the table and go to Format to bring up that pane. And then I'm going to go to the Fields drop down, and let's start with the sum of the world population percentage. And we want to format that as a percentage with no decimal places. And then we're going to go back to the Fields drop down. And so for all of our rankings, we have to do them field by field. For all of our rankings, we want them to just be standard format, standard number format. So I'm going to just go through the list from top to bottom. So number standard. And you can go ahead and complete that process on your own. I'm going to just have you pause the video and do that. The percentile ranks need to be in a percentage with 0 decimal places. So when you're done, your values in your table should look like mine. I have to let me go to rank ascending again. Forgot to hit that one. So you can see it in the table. It makes it easy to see what you may have forgotten. It also makes it easy when you go to your fields list that it will have selected the last one that you modified. And in the format pane, let's go to our paint bucket for shading. We're going to give our worksheet the dark gray color. And, ooh, I do not like that banding. We're going to go down to row banding and choose none for the pane and the header. And let's go to our font icon at the top of the format pane. And let's change the default worksheet font to white bold. And then we're going to edit our title and select everything and make that bold and white font as well. So there you have it. The country ranking by world population percent, and we used every rank function, both ascending and descending, that we have. Now we're going to get into our second lesson, which is about correlation. Correlation analysis compares 2 or more quantitative variables to see if the values in one vary systematically with values in another. So for some examples, do lemonade sales increase as the temperature rises? Has nothing to do with our data set. As men increase in height, does their weight also increase? Again, has nothing to do with our data set. The one we're going to be using is density impacted as growth rate increases. So that will be the example we'll use for correlation. You'll be given an equation that has an R squared value and a P value, similar to when we did trend lines. The closer R squared is to 1, the stronger the correlation between your two metrics. You want a P value that is less than 0.05. If it's higher than that, that means that the Tableau correlation between the variables isn't statistically significant. A very low p-value means that you can have greater trust in the Tableau correlation and that the results you're seeing did not occur randomly. In other words, it really is a good correlation and you can trust it. The equation enables you to predict how your x variable will change your y variable. An R squared value of 0.127, for example, means that 12.7% of the changes in our case, density, can be explained by growth rate. Therefore, 87.3% of changes in density cannot be explained by growth rate, so they're not really correlated to each other. I'm going to go ahead and save my file and bring up a new sheet. And let's go ahead and name that sheet Impact of Growth Rate on Density by Country. So we are going to drag the density field to columns and the growth rate to rows. And so with correlation, the question is, does our X variable change our Y variable? So in order for us to answer the question on the slide, is density impacted as growth rate increases? We're really saying, does the X variable change the Y variable? So we need growth rate to be our X variable. So I'm going to do Control W to swap the columns and rows. So that will be the case when we do our correlation. Now I'm going to just drag and drop country into the view. And I'm going to put continent in color on the marks card. So let's switch this to entire view. And the way that we do a correlation is the same way we do a trend line. We can do it from the Analytics tab like we did it earlier, or you can use the Analysis menu, hover over trend lines, and choose Show Trend Lines. So you're seeing all of these trend lines that are showing. And if you hover over any one of them, what you're looking for here is the closer R squared is to the number 1, the stronger the correlation. If the p-value is less than 0.05, you can have greater trust that the results did not occur randomly. So this is looking like there is no correlation here if I'm keeping an eye on the R squared number, right? And for each of those lines, it's kind of the same thing. The p-value is pretty good, but the R squared value is lower. So we can see that really the growth rate has no impact in terms of correlation on the density. Go ahead and save your file and bring up a new sheet. We're going to create a couple of more visualizations here, and then we'll get to our pivoting topic. So the first viz, let's grab our measure names and drag it to the filter shelf. And we're going to be dealing with this population information here. So I'm going to select none for the filter, and then I'm going to just select those population fields 1970 through 2022 and click OK. We're going to drag the continent field to rows and the measure names field to columns. And then we're going to put our measure values field in text on the marks card. So now we're seeing by continent all of the yearly population information that we have. Let's grab the world population percentage and put that on detail in the marks card. So when we hover over any mark in our table, I'm hovering over the first mark. So I'm seeing the continent, Africa, the 1970 population, and that world population percentage for 1970. That's the kind of information you would see there. And you can see that that population percentage by continent doesn't change in our data set over each year. Let's use our Show Me pane, and we want to select the side-by-side bars. And so now, if we collapse Show Me, you'll see that the measure names have the color coding on them, right? Based on the population metrics that we're using. And if we look at the x-axis at the bottom, we don't want it to say 1970 population. We just need it to say 1970. So I'm going to right click on that first one, 1970, edit the alias, and just get rid of the word population. And we're going to do that, and you only have to do it in one pane, and it will adjust for all of them. You'll see that all the other panes for the other continents have 1970. So we're going to just keep editing these aliases. They don't have that word there. We don't need it to be there. And you can continue the last ones on your own. Just pause the video. So those axis labels are taking up less space now. And let's switch this to entire view, just so it spreads out a little bit more. We'll go ahead and name the sheet World Population Percent by Continent. And let's do some of our typical formatting here. So I'm going to just go to Format, Shading. Let's see what this worksheet would look like with the dark gray shading. That's pretty cool. Except when I have dark gray shading, I don't really particularly want the white grid lines. Let's go to our font icon and change the worksheet font to white, bold. Let's go to our lines icon, and let's see what lines we have there. We don't have those grid lines. Okay, so those are axis lines and things. Let me see which one will change it. Well, actually, I think since we have the white font, the white lines are fine. We can go ahead and change and close that format lines, well, the format tab. And let's just format the title so that it is white and bold. And on our measure names color palette legend on the right, we're going to right click and edit, or do the drop down and edit the title. Can't see it right now because it has this white shading. So I'm going to do Control A, and then I can see it. When you select it, you can see it. And I'm going to call it Years of Population. And then Control A, make sure I typed it right, and click OK. And now we're going to save and bring up another new sheet. Let's go ahead and name this sheet tab Map of Countries and Capitals with World Population %. And for this one, notice that the capital field does not have geocoding associated with it. It's a text field. It doesn't have the globe. So we're going to assign a geographic role to capital. And we're going to do that. We can right click on it, hover over geographic role, and we're going to give it the geographic role of city. So now it has a globe and we can include it on our map. So we're going to drag our country field, which is already geocoded, to columns. And we're going to drag capital to rows. And use Show Me to select a symbol map. I'm going to go ahead and close the Show Me pane. And I'm going to drag the world population percentage to color on the marks card. So we get some variations in shading there. And now we're going to turn it into a density map by going to the automatic drop down on the marks card and selecting density at the bottom. On the marks card, I'm going to go to size and just decrease the size a little bit. So I'm going to adjust it just a hair. Let's click on color and change the color to, I'm going to just use the orange palette that's there. And then right underneath that, I'm going to increase the intensity of the color. And you can see how that changes on the map. Now we're going to go to the map menu and add a background map. And I'm going to do dark for the contrast. Let's go back to the map menu and choose background layers. And in the background layers pane on the left, we're going to check coastline. And if you keep an eye on your map and uncheck it and then check it again, you'll see that it kind of outlines the coastlines for all of the countries. And we're also going to check the box in front of water labels. And in order to see the water labels, you really kind of have to zoom in on the map. And then you're seeing North Atlantic Ocean over here, so on and so forth. Seems like when I zoom out too much, I can't see the water labels. So you would want to zoom in to be able to see those. And we can close that background layers panel and go ahead and save. So then you can use your right pointing arrow on your map toolbar and you can select the pan icon. And in that way, you can pan across your map. And so we're seeing the density of the world population percentage by country on this map. And if I hover over a density circle on the map, I can see the capital for the country on the tooltip and the world population percentage as well as the country. Nice looking map, great contrast. Oh, in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see 28 unknown. And when you hover over it, it says there are 28 values that have unknown geographic locations. We're going to click on that and you could edit the locations. So let's do that first. When you click there, right? So it's saying that this is ambiguous data for Lima, and some of the data is unrecognized. We're going to cancel that. Click back on 28 unknown. And we're going to go to filter data. And what that did is it removed anything that was ambiguous or not recognized, and your 28 unknown disappears from there. Before we move into our next lesson about pivoting, I want to show you another way that you can view a visualization. I particularly like to do this with my map visualizations, and that's by going into Presentation View, which you can access from the right side of the toolbar. And when you use Presentation View, your title bar, menu bar, toolbars, shelves, cards, panes all disappear, and the entire visualization is what's filling your screen. And I find this, again, particularly useful for maps, but again, it's available for any type of visualization. And to exit Presentation View, you can just press Escape on your keyboard. Now let's go to the Data Source view, and we'll talk about pivoting. Scroll your data grid to the right, if necessary, until you see the age group breakdowns. And there's actually 5 of them. I'm not counting the total population by age field, just 65 plus through 0 to 4 years. And so we have these 5 separate columns. Each column has the appropriate value for that particular age group. If we pivot these columns, we will get 2 columns instead of 5. The first column would have all of the different age groups in it, and the second column would have their corresponding values in it. And so in order to pivot, you can click and hold on the 65 plus column and then just drag to the right until the other 4 are selected. You can hover over the header for any of the selected columns, and you'll see a drop-down arrow, and you can choose Pivot. So now instead of those 5 columns, you have 2 columns, the first of which is named Pivot Field Names. And again, they have all of the groupings in them. And then the second column is Pivot Field Values, and they have the group's corresponding values. Now, I'm going to right-click on the Pivot Field Names header, and I'm going to rename it. I'm going to double-click Pivot and type Age Group. And I'm going to do the same thing for the field values, so it's more specific for what it really is. And now we're going to create a new sheet. So on this sheet, we're going to drag continent to rows, and we're going to grab our age group field names, and we're going to place that in columns. And then we're going to grab age group field values, and we want to place that in rows. And then let's go to our Show Me pane, and we're going to choose the highlight table. And so you can see that it has the age group field names, and then their values, and the highlighting. I'm going to collapse Show Me, so you can see the highlight corresponding to the color legend on the right. We're going to edit the aliases for the age group field names. I just wanted to say 0 to 4, 5 to 14. We don't even need the word years there. So I'm going to start doing that just to make it a little bit more concise. And you can do the other 3 on your own. Go ahead and pause the video. Now that that's done, let's go to color on the marks card. I'm going to edit the colors, and I'm going to pick the orange palette again, just for some consistency in here. And let's go ahead and name this sheet Population per Continent by Age Group. And we'll go ahead and do some more formatting. So I'm going to go to Format, and we'll do shading first and get our typical dark gray worksheet shading on there. And we'll go to the font icon and do our bold white font. And of course, we're going to edit the title. Select everything and make that bold and white as well. We can go ahead and hide that age group field label, as well as the continent field label. Let's see what it looks like if we put it in entire view. I'm going to go back to standard. And let's go back to data source view. So here, if we wanted to unpivot these and break them down into 5 columns again, we could go to the drop down on either one and select Remove Pivot. We're not going to do that. We're going to leave it as is, but if you wanted to undo that, that's how you would do it. And now I'm going to go back to our population per content per age group sheet. And if you notice, in the data pane on the left, it's still showing those groups, They still exist there. They're just not showing in data source view when you have them pivoted. Go ahead and save. So in case you're following along with the lesson plan, I've switched pivoting and stories. So we've done our ranking, our correlation, and our pivoting. And now we're going to build some dashboards, and then we're going to create stories, and then we'll end by validating our data joins. I'm going to show you another trick I sometimes use before I start building my dashboards. Is I switch to view. So right now, and by default, when you go into Tableau, you're seeing the sheet tabs for each of your sheets or dashboards. In the lower right corner, you have a couple of other icons. The one that's selected is the last one there, and that's why you're seeing the sheet tabs. The one to the left of that is show Filmstrip, and the other one is show sheet sorter. Let's go to sheet sorter first. And this works. This is not the view that I normally go to for this, but I'll show you the view that I normally go to for this. And so let's go to Filmstrip view. So it stays on the bottom, and I'm still seeing my visualization that I'm currently on. Now, the reason why I do that is I can quickly look and see, like if I forgot to do any color on a sheet, like we have worksheet colors consistently, but on the impact of growth one, we do not. So I'm going to go there and go ahead and format that with the worksheet shading that we've been using. And I think I went a little bit too dark there. Yeah. And that's the other benefit of it, is you can see if maybe you chose the wrong shade at some point. I'm going to go back to population, and I think I made that a little bit too dark as well. And so I can see them all at a glance and make any adjustments. Now the map is dark because of the background that was on, we chose the dark background of the map. So I'm going to close that shading tab. And if you'd like, you can leave it on Filmstrip or sheet sorter view if you prefer that. I'm going to leave mine on Filmstrip for now. So the buttons for new sheet, new dashboard, and new story are still there to the side. They're just vertical instead of horizontal now when I'm in Filmstrip view. Let's go ahead and create a new dashboard sheet. Adjust your size as usual. And we're going to be doing a few other formatting changes to this sheet before we build the dashboard. So let's go up to the dashboard menu and choose format. And for the dashboard shading, we want it to be shaded a little bit darker gray than our sheet shading. And since we're on format, let's go to the dashboard title font and make it bold and white. Go ahead and close format. Now what we're going to do first is we're going to make a copy of our dashboard sheet. It has the size, it has the background shading, and it has the formatting for the title. We're going to paste it down there and make sure you're on the original dashboard sheet. Go ahead and check show dashboard title or uncheck it if necessary, whichever one gets it to show. And let's name this sheet country ranking by world population %, dashboard. And then we're going to go up and edit the title. So the title is taking the sheet name. We'd have to type it all over again to get rid of the word dashboard, but you could if you want to. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to just select everything. I don't want it to actually have the word dashboard in the title. We just can't have two sheets of any kind with the same name. So I'm going to just retype country ranking by world population %. Okay. So now we're going to drag on a horizontal container And we're going to use the country ranking sheet and hide the visualization title. And now we're going to go to our copied dashboard sheet. Let's make a copy of that one and paste it. And make sure you're on the second one. We're going to use another horizontal container here, and we're going to drop our map into it. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit on the map. Let's show our dashboard title, hide the map title, and we're going to name the sheet Map of Countries with World Population Percent Dashboard. And I'll edit it so I spell population correctly. Let me edit the sheet. Let's go ahead and save again. And let's go to our next dashboard in waiting. We're going to make a copy of that one. We just have 2 more dashboards that we're going to do. So let's make a copy of that one and paste it. And go to what would be our third dashboard. Bring in a horizontal container. And on this one, we're going to use the world population percent by continent on the left side of the container. And on the right side of the container, we're going to use population per continent per age group and drag that on there. And once we drag that on there, we're going to grab it by its handle and drag it up to the top. When you see that gray shading band, you can let it go. So that's at the top. We can make it a little bit taller since we have the space to do so. And then we're going to click on the age group field values color legend and drag that underneath the age group table. So now we have that table, the age group field values, and then the years of population legend, which corresponds to the world population percent by continent graph. The other thing we need to do is scroll down to the bottom of the graph on the left, and notice it's not wide enough to see 1970. So I'm going to put my mouse between the 2 sections of the container, and I'm going to drag it to the right just enough so we can see 1970 in all of the panes. And then I scroll back up and look at this graph now, and it has to be scrolled a little bit to the right. Maybe I can select it or select that pane that it's in if I can get there. Yeah, there we go. Maybe I can drag it down a little bit more now, at least to get rid of one of the scroll bars. But we definitely want this leftmost graph to be able to show all of the years of the population data. I must have accidentally made a copy of this sheet at some point, so I'm going to change the title on that population per continent per age group. I'm just going to wipe out what's in there and type it all over again without the 2. And let's name this dashboard World Population Percentage or percent sign by continents with age group breakdown. And then let's show the dashboard title. Now, I'm going to hide the title on the left graph, but leave the title for the right one. And let's go to our remaining dashboard sheet and save again. Go ahead and drag your horizontal container object And we have our last sheet, and that is the impact sheet. We're going to drag in there. And on this sheet, we're going to put in an annotation. And so I'm going to right click on any mark on the sheet and go to annotate. And we want to annotate the area so it's not just tied to a mark. And we are going to type for this annotation based on the r-squared value, comma, there is no impact on growth rate based on changes to density. And we're going to click OK. We're going to select the annotation and resize it so every bit of the text can be seen. We're going to right click on it and go ahead and format and change the shading. No, we don't have to change the shading, sorry. Let's give it a the thickest straight line black border, but then we'll change it to orange because we've been doing that consistently. And let's give it very rounded corners. And I'm going to move the annotation over to like the top left side and then click away from it. Let's go ahead and name this dashboard sheet Impact of Growth Rate on Density Correlation Analysis. And we can hide the sheet title, close format, and show your dashboard title. Let's go back to our world population dashboard. And since we have some space on the right side, we're going to add something else there. So let's do, at the bottom, let's choose floating for this one. And we're going to add a web page object. So I'm going to just drag it into the view. And the URL for this one, we're going to do our https://www. And then it's going to be world O meters. I think it's pronounced worldometers. .info/geography/7-continents and press OK. And then I'm going to grab that object and move it so it's right underneath the years of population color legend. I'm going to widen it and increase its height just a bit. And since I can scroll down in this chart on the left, I'm going to increase its height to the remaining height. I'm going to close that. This website uses cookies. And it didn't close. It's just say got it. Okay. So you can see here, right? If we go and we look at, we have 6 continents in our data set. There are actually 7. And so the continent of Australia is now known as Oceania. So we have that one. We have our North and South Americas. We have Europe, we have Africa, Asia, and Oceania. What we don't have, and I use a list here, we don't have any data for Antarctica. You notice the population is set to 0 for that. So, but this is a handy reference if someone wants to see the continents, knowing that we don't have any data for Antarctica. Okay, let's go ahead and save again. So our next lesson, I switched them up a little bit, is going to be about stories. They are exactly what it sounds like. You can create a story with different story points out of your sheets and or dashboards. And so we're going to use the third icon over there, which is new story. And notice with a story, you can use sheets or dashboards on them. We're going to use our dashboards. And so what we're going to do is adjust the size of your story. And that's on the bottom on the left, a little bit different than our dashboards. And let's go up to the story menu and choose format. And we want to give it the same shading as we've been given our dashboards. And we want to change our navigator font to white, bold. And then we can go ahead and close format. If we go to the layout tab over there, our navigator style, we're going to use caption boxes. So not only will they be telling that part of the story, but you can use them to navigate to other story points. And let's go back to the story tab. Let's go ahead and grab the country ranking dashboard and drag it onto the view. And then we're going to go up and double click add a caption so that we can type in that box. And it's going to be, if you are someone who needs to analyze all the different rank functions, or actually rank function differences. Let's get rid of the first word, different. I just realized that doesn't make sense. So if you are someone who needs to analyze all the rank function differences in Tableau, comma, this text table is perfect for you. And I'll just do an exclamation point there. And then I can resize that caption. My goal is so they won't have to be scrolled down at all. A little bit wider. And I can see all of the text. And so this is the beginning of our story. Let's edit that at the end of the caption. Oh, no, we don't have to do that. It's fine. And now what we want to do is we want to add to our story. So on the left side at the top of the story tab, we're going to click on under new story point, blank. So now we have another blank caption and we get to drag another sheet here. And this one, we're going to use our map dashboard. And its caption is going to be, this density map is showing the population percent of each country. If you hover over the marks on the map, you'll discover the capital city of each country as well. Another exclamation point. We're going to go to another blank story point. And for this one, we're going to do the world population percent by continents with age group breakdown dashboard. And so we just got to put our caption in here. This graph shows the population percent of each continent, and you are also able to see the age group breakdown in the highlight table. We only have 6 continents in our data set. And so we're not going to use the the correlation visualization in our story because there is no correlation between growth rate and density. So this is going to be our story. And so let's go down and name the story sheet Our World Population Analysis. And it didn't take my font formatting change. So I'm going to just go and manually make that white and bold. There we go. And so how does this work? We can use these points, and you see they have a right arrow on the rightmost point and a left arrow on the left of the leftmost point. We can click on each caption, right? And navigate our story that way. We can also use those arrows. And I've just increased the width of my story point captions so that there is no scroll bar in any of them. Go ahead and save this file, and we are actually ready to close it. We're going to use a new Tableau workbook to learn about validating data joins. So you can just go to File, Close there. And I've been getting rid of these tiles just so I don't have the clutter on my home screen. We use the two Excel files for our world population data. Now we're going to use the two CSV files so you can learn how to validate data joins. So I'm going to just go to text file, and I'm going to grab world population first. And notice CSVs, you know, it has the population by age group there as well. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to hover over world population CSV on the left, and we're going to hit the view data icon to its right. And so what's cool about this is you can see that this data set has 234 rows. Close it. Let's do the same with the population by age group CSV. And this one has 235 rows. So we have some sort of row mismatch. So another thing that you can do, that's just like looking at the data and just saying, okay, that's how many rows are in each of those CSVs. Let's go to sheet 1, and let's just name this sheet Row Count Test. We're going to create a calculated field that can be used to determine the number of rows. And we're just going to name this calculated field the number 1, and all we're going to put in it is the number 1, and click OK. And we're going to drag that number 1 calculated field to text on the marks card. So since I'm on the world population data, it's showing me the 234 rows. Let's go back to data source view. Now let's double click that world population CSV tile so that takes us to, oops, I'm already in the physical layer. That's where I was trying to get you to, sorry. I'm going to double click it to get to the physical layer. And we're going to drag the population by age group file into the view. And so it creates our default inner join. And we can go back to row count test now and see that it says 222. So what this is saying is that the population by age group is actually missing some records. Let's go back to data source. We're going to change the join type. So just click on the join icon. So it did the default inner join. We're going to choose a left join. So that would include all values in the world population file and only the matching values in the population by age group file. So when we change it to a left join and then we go back to row count test, you can see it's at 234. Let's go back to data source again, and we're going to close that physical layer. Now we're going to try to find the missing values. So let's bring up a new sheet, and we'll just name it Find Missing Values. And what we're going to do here is drag the country field from world population CSV to rows, and then drag the country field from population by age group to rows. And if you look through the population by age group data, you'll see several nulls, right? So no value, no country for Faroe Islands in the population age group file, none for Ivory Coast, so on and so forth. So in a case like this, you would want to drag the country from population by age group to filters, and you would want to, I'm going to select none, then check null and exclude, and then click OK. So in the earlier part of this module, when we were using the Excel files, they worked and everything matched up because I thoroughly cleaned those files. So for example, we saw that in this country file for population by age group, it didn't have Faroe Islands. It did, but it was spelled differently than the original. And there were several instances of that. And so I had cleaned all of that so that we would be able to use the Excel files. But if I hadn't cleaned it, this is the kind of thing you would have to go through if you're trying to validate your data joins. We're not going to save this file. We can just close it. Unless you personally want to keep it, you can save your workbook as maybe validating data joins. But I'm going to go ahead and close it and not save the changes. So by way of review or recap, we use the world population data in this module. And we started by creating a visualization where we used all of the rank functions, all variations of the rank function in ascending and descending order in the same table for comparison purposes. We moved on to correlation, and then we skipped stories, and we learned how to do pivoting different columns of data. And after we did that, we spent some time creating our dashboards, and then we added some of our dashboards as story points. And we ended by using the CSV files so that we could learn how to go about validating data joins. In Module 6, we'll work with the USA Colleges dataset. In the first lesson, you'll learn about the STARTSWITH function, and then we'll learn how to use calculated values as filters. You'll learn about layers and how to format them, as well as values and headers, aliases. Our college data set is in an Excel file, so let's go ahead and grab that and bring it in as our data source. And you'll notice that we have our connection, our Excel file, and then we have 4 different worksheets in that file. The one that we're interested in is data, so I'm going to go ahead and drag that onto the layer. And we can look through our data and see what we have here. We have ID numbers for each college or university, the name, the year of the data, the zip code, highest degree offered, really good data in here. We have county names, longitude and latitude, all geographic roles, those 3, so a zip code. And we have other columns that show what the particular institution offers by way of degrees, right? So we have several of those columns, offers less than 1 year, so on and so forth. And as we go across, after all of those degree ones, we have the applicant total, admissions, enrolled total. We have percent of freshmen submitting ACT scores. You have SAT data in there and more ACT data. You have your estimated enrollment totals, estimated undergraduate. So there's a healthy set of data in here. We have tuition and fees in here for certain school years, state abbreviations, more geographic roles, which is cool. We have the geographic regions in there, and the region name is followed by the states in that region. We have the sector of the institution, the level, the control of the institution, whether it's a historically Black college or university, an HBCU, tribal college, the degree of urbanization for where the institution is located. And then there's this Carnegie classification field, healthy set of data that we're going to be working with. So our first lesson in here is using the STARTSWITH function. Let's go ahead and bring up a sheet. The first thing we're going to do is I am going to click on the name field in the data pane, and I'm going to hold down Control and also select the state abbreviation field. And then I'm going to just drag them to rows. And then we're going to flip-flop them. So I want state abbreviation in front of name. And notice the state abbreviation field simply has the state names in them. So I want to rename that field. I'm going to right-click on it in the data pane and choose Rename. And I'm going to just get rid of the word abbreviation because it's not accurate. And then we're going to go down to our measures and we're going to grab Enrolled Total and drag that to text on the marks card. So what we're going to create here using STARTSWITH, we want to see a list of all the HBCUs, the historically Black colleges and universities that are in the cities. And we're going to do that by using an if, and, then, else, and if structure with a nested STARTSWITH function in a calculated field. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to scroll up in my data pane, and I'm going to right-click on historically Black college or university, hover over Create, and choose Calculated Field. So the benefit of starting a calculated field this way is that it has the field that you referenced when you started the calculated field already in there. We're going to name this calculated field HBCUs in cities. And then we're going to click in front of that historically Black college or university field name, and we're going to grab our if function. And then you can use the end key on your keyboard, end, to get to the end of that line. You're going to type an equal sign and then double quotes the word yes. In that field, historically Black college or university, it's noted either yes or no. So we want the ones that are HBCUs, so they would equal yes. So that's what we have so far. If that field equals yes, now we're going to give it another criteria by grabbing the and function, and then we're going to grab our STARTSWITH function. Now, what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you click after and press enter. So we won't have to scroll across to see our function. And then you want to be in between the two parentheses after STARTSWITH. So notice it shows me the syntax right here where we're creating the calculation, I could also look over to the right if that's expanded. So it's showing you that it has the first argument is a string separated by a comma from the second argument, which is a substring. So we're going to give it the string argument, which is a field. Start typing degree, and we want to grab that degree of urbanization field. And so at this point, you're in between the field's closing bracket and the closing parenthesis, and that's where you need to be to type your comma, and then you're going to give it your substring argument. And that is going to be in double quotes the word city with a colon. So we're saying, so in that degree of urbanization field, they have city, colon, large, city, colon, midsize, and I believe city, colon, small. So we want all of the variations of cities. Now we're going to click outside of that closing parenthesis and press enter. We're going to grab the then function and then the name field. And then we're going to type else, and we want a pair of double quotes and then the end function. So let me review this. If historically Black college or university is yes, and degree of urbanization starts with city, colon, then we wanted to display the name of the school. If those two criteria are not true, it's going to do what's after the else statement, which is leave it blank. Don't give me a name. And then we have to always have the end at the end of an if construct. So go ahead and click OK. So now delete the name pill from the rows shelf and drag your HBCUs and cities calculated field to the rows shelf next to state. So you'll see now it's only displaying HBCUs. The other names are blank because we said if it's not an HBCU that is in a city, right, leave it blank. So it's showing the list of HBCUs only in the cities. And now we can filter out the blanks. We can drag that calculated field to the filter shelf. And I'm going to select none and then click the first box where the blank is and exclude it. And then click OK. So we got everything that is an HBCU in this text table. Let's go ahead and hide the field labels for the rows. And we're going to name this sheet HBCUs in cities. And this is a good time. Let's go ahead and save our file. And I'm going to call it USA Colleges. And then let's go ahead and make a copy of this particular sheet. I'm going to drag my copy so it's to the right side of the original. Now we want to see all institutions that are in large cities. So the first thing we're going to do is name this copied sheet, all institutions in large cities. We're going to delete HBCUs and cities from rows and from filters. And we're going to delete the sum of the enrolled total from the marks card. Now, we're not going to filter it by it, but I want you to see the members of that degree of urbanization field. And first of all, let's do this. Let's right click on it and rename it and get rid of the urban central locale at the end of it. And let's drag that field to the filter shelf. So you can see that they have city, rural, suburb, and town. Cities and suburbs have the designations of large, mid-size, and small, and rural and town have the designations of distant, fringe, and remote. We're going to cancel that filter. We want all cities regardless. Well, we don't want all cities, sorry. We only want institutions in large cities for this visualization. So we're going to right click on degree of urbanization, hover over create and choose calculated field. And we're going to name it in large cities ? We're going to use the if then end construct for this. So click in front of the field name and grab your if function. And then what we're going to do is click at the end of degree of urbanization, type an equal sign, and then in double quotes, city, large, and there's a space between the colon and large. And we'll press enter, grab our then function, the name field, and grab our end function. So if it is in a large city, it will show the name of the institution. Go ahead and click OK. So in effect, the calculated field that we created is going to be functioning as a filter. We built the filter into the calculation. So now we can drag our in large cities field to rows. Actually, drag it to filters first. Because we didn't put an else statement saying leave it blank, when we use it, it's going to have null values instead of blank values. So let's go ahead and exclude null. And then we're going to drag that to rows. So we're only seeing the names of the institutions that are in large cities. Now, what we want to use this time as a measure, not actually a measure, what we want to use this time on the text in the marks card is control of institution. So we can see whether it's public or private, so on and so forth. So I've gone ahead and I've widened my column so I can see all of the text in each column, and you should do the same. And then I'm going to go back to our first sheet, the HBCU sheet, and do the same thing on that one. And I'm going to just go back to the all institutions in large cities sheet. And let's make a copy of that sheet. You're going to see several variations on similar things here. I'm going to go ahead and paste the copy. And I want to make sure I'm on the copied one and it's in the last position. We're going to name the copied sheet all institutions in cities, just taking out the word large and the number 2 at the end of it. Don't need that there. And we're going to remove the in large cities calculated field from rows and from filters. And we're going to create another calculated field using the degree of urbanization. So I'm going to right click on that. And this one we are going to call institutions in cities. We're going to click in front of degree of urbanization. And we're going to use an if construct And we're going to use starts with again here. And degree of urbanization needs to be moved inside the parentheses after starts with. After degree of urbanization, you're going to type a comma. And then in quotes, just city colon, close your quotes. Come outside of the parentheses, press enter. And then we're going to grab the name field and end. And click OK. Let's drag that field to filters and filter out the nulls. And then we're going to drag that calculated field to rows. So these are all institutions and all city types, you could say. Let's go ahead and save. So different variations. We've used starts with twice. We've used the if then and else end if structure as well. So we're going to do another variation. Let's go ahead and copy our all institutions in city sheet. And this one, we're going to rename all institutions and then slash HBCUs noted. So a different variation. And as the sheet name suggests, we're going to get a listing of all institutions, including HBCUs, but the HBCUs will be noted as HBCUs. So what we're going to do here is go ahead and get rid of our institutions and cities calculated field from rows. And we are going to take out control of institution from the marks card, get rid of the filter as well. And let's put our total enrolled measure back on text in the marks card. And then we're going to right click on our historically Black college or university field, create calculated field. So now we're going to drag that calculation to rows. And you can see what it does in the text table is it notes the HBCUs. And I think the other thing we need to do is we need to drag name in between state and all HBCUs. And we'll add all members if prompted. So this time we had to actually add the name field to rows because we didn't use it in the calculated field to tell it whether it meets criteria to show the name of the institution. So now we just have all institutions and the HBCUs are noted. Go ahead and save your file. And because so far we've only used text tables, let's bring up a new sheet and we'll create another visualization on this sheet using a different type of viz. So on this new sheet, we're going to grab the geographic region and drag it to rows. Having the regions and then the states included in the region field can be a little bit confusing and really kind of unnecessary in some ways. Now, there may be cases when you'd want that to happen, but we don't want that to happen. So what we are going to do is we are going to right click on geographic region in the data pane, and we're going to click on Aliases. That field, geographic region, has members, which you'll see on the left, and each member has a value alias on the right. And so you can leave the members the way they are and just change their aliases. And that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to click on the right. I'm going to click on Far West. And then I'm going to click in there again and just delete all of those states after Far West. And we're going to do the same. So we'll do Great Lakes together, Mideast, New England. And you can pause the video. The last one, we don't have to change, U.S. Service Schools. But you can do the next 4, modify the aliases on your own, and then resume the video. And so when you're done, your screen should look like mine. And so this is different than renaming the field, right? This is renaming the members of that dimension. We're going to click OK. So now you see, since we already put it into our viz, it updates. So now we're going to go back to data source view. And in the upper right corner, we're going to go to our filters, add link. And we're going to add a filter. And it's going to be for that geographic region. And we're going to exclude U.S. Service Schools and OK our way out of there. I'm doing it at the data source level, so we don't have to do it. If we use that field on multiple sheets, we don't have to do that at the sheet level. We're going to go back to our new sheet, and you see that the service schools are not in the list. So our goal is to see how many schools are in each geographic region, how many institutions are in each region. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag the name field to text. We're going to right click on it on the marks card. Instead of it being a dimension, we're going to make it a measure, and we're going to use the count function there. So now we have the count of all of the institutions in any geographic region. And we're going to go over and expand our Show Me pane. And let's make this a pie chart. And let's do entire view here. You can collapse Show Me. And so you're getting your color legend for your geographic regions. And I want to change those colors. So I'm going to go to the drop down and edit colors. And I am going to select the Lightning Sunrise palette. Now, so far, we've been clicking on each data item and assigning the color. Down here at the bottom, I'm going to assign the palette, but notice the palette doesn't have as many colors as there are items. So I'm going to click Assign Palette, and it lets me know that the color assignment has more items than the color palette. Do you want to continue? I'm going to say yes. And so it will repeat some of the colors, and I'm kind of fine with that. So I'm going to click OK. And then if we hover over every region, we'll see the count of the name, the count of names. Let's click on Tooltip in the marks card. And we're going to change count of name to the actual title there before the colon. I'm going to use the £, number of institutions is what I want it to say. And I'm going to select the geographic region title and field. And I'm going to make that like 11 points. And I'm going to make it orange and bold. And click OK. And then on second thought, I'm looking at this, and because I assigned the palette and it's repeating colors, this could be kind of confusing. So I'll let go of one of my favorite palettes. I'm going to go back to edit colors, and I am going to choose a palette like Tableau Classic 20, or even 10 would do. I'll go with 20. And then I'll have it assign those colors, and I'll just make myself happy with that. So now when we hover, we see the region in orange large and then the number of institutions instead of count of name there. And then we're going to name this sheet number of institutions per, we'll just call it region, per region. We're not going to rename that count of name card on the right. We probably won't use it on a dashboard. But what we're going to do, I'm going to hold down Control and I'm going to grab either of those count of name fields and drag it to label on the marks card so we can actually see the count on the screen, as well as now you see it's not on the tooltip, right? We take it out of label. So if I click it on the marks card and delete the label one and I hover, it already impacted the tooltip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back on label. I'm going to go to tooltip and it still has the heading there, number of institutions. I'm going to go to the insert drop down and choose count of name and click OK. And now you'll see it's back in the tooltip. So yeah, if you want to put something in text or label so it displays, then you're going to have to go back and modify your tooltip. That's the moral to that story. Go ahead and save your file. Let's go ahead and bring up a new sheet. And on this sheet, we are going to create a map. We're going to add multiple layers to it, including a data layer. So let's go ahead and name this sheet Map of Institutions. We are going to drag the state field to rows, and we're going to drag the zip code field to columns. We're going to drag total enrollment, the total enrollment measure, enrolled total rather. The enrolled total measure is also going to go to rows. And then we're going to go to Show Me, and we're going to select the symbol map because we have geographic roles that we use, state and zip code. Of course, we can make it into a map. And I'm going to collapse Show Me. Now, what I want to do is I want to use my map tools to go to my pan tool so that I can pan the map, make it a little bit more centered right now. Now, the first thing I want to deal with on this map is in the lower right, it's telling you that there's 938 unknown. So we're going to click on that. And first we'll click on Edit Locations, and you see that it's bringing up a bunch of unrecognized data. So we're going to cancel that. We're going to click on 938 unknown again, and we're going to filter the data to get rid of the unrecognizable entries. And so that tag disappears from the lower right of your map. So when we change it into a symbol map, you'll notice in the marks card, it puts state and zip code in detail on the marks card. Well, we want more fields in detail on the marks card. So we're going to select them all and drag them there. So I'm going to use my Control key. I'm going to select level of institution, name. Let me see, scroll up. Let me find these fields. So then we're going to go down to measures and we're going to Control click full-time enrollment. And we're also going to Control click part-time enrollment. And then we can just drag those to detail. And so we have a lot on the detail, which means when we hover over a mark on the map, it will show you all the things that are in detail. And so we want to arrange the way that they're showing in detail. And we're going to just do that by dragging and dropping. So I want the name to be first, and you'll notice the little orange arrow giving you a guide as to when to drop it. So we have name, state, zip code, level of institution. I think that's good. Let me hover over a mark and see. Yeah, that works the way it is right there. It's still showing. So I can fix that in the tooltip. Let's go to tooltip, because even though level of institution is showing like fourth in detail, it's still showing top at the tooltip. So this is where it gets fun. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select level of institution and do Control X to cut it. I'm going to delete that blank line, click after zip code and press enter, and then Control V to paste in level of institution. And then let's select the name, heading, and the field. And we're going to make that 11 point bold. And I'm going to make it orange and click OK. So now when I hover, the name is prominent in the tooltip. Let's go ahead and add the geographic region to the filters shelf. And we're going to use all and click OK. And we're going to show that filter. Let's make it a multiple value drop down. Let's go to color on the marks card, and I'm going to pick the orange color. And you can make whatever color choices you'd like to make, obviously. I'm going to just zoom in a little bit on my map. And then we're going to go to the map menu, choose background maps. I think I'm going to use a satellite background this time. You can use whatever background you feel is best suited for you. And then we're going to go back to map and choose background layers. For here, we want the country, region, borders, and names. We also want the state and province borders and names, as well as water labels. So we've seen this earlier in the course a little bit, but what we're going to do now is we're going to add a data layer. If you notice toward the bottom, it says no data layer, and we're going to do the drop down arrow next to that. So these are the data layers that come with Tableau. You have U.S. household layers, U.S. housing, occupations, population, and population by race layers that you can use. We're going to use, under U.S. population, we're going to select the population layer. And notice now I have an overlay layer on my map, and I have a color grid on the right showing the population values as of 2018, right? So that layer hovers over the map. The layer information is not showing in the tooltip for any mark. It's just a layer of a particular color on the map. And you can format the legend and edit the title. You're unable to change the colors that it assigns to that layers from that drop down. But if you look at the background layers at the bottom, so it says layer population, detailed state, and then it shows you the palette that it's using, the blue-green sequential palette. You can try some other palettes if you'd like to see what they look like on the map. And I'm going with the area red palette on the map, and it updated its color legend on the right side. We can close the background layers pane and go ahead and save your file. So our last lesson in here before we create our dashboards is values and headers aliases. So we already used values aliases during this module when we assigned the aliases to geographic region. So let's start by right-clicking on geographic region and going to aliases. So this is where we changed the alias so it didn't include the state names for each member. And here, if you wanted to revert back to what it was, you can always clear the aliases. We're not going to do that. We're going to click OK. So that's how to change the alias of a value, which is a member of a field. Now you're going to learn how to change a header alias. And so we're going to go to a new sheet and build another visualization. The first thing we want to do is drag the state field to filters. And then we're going to use all and OK our way out of there. We want to show that filter, and let's make it a single value drop down. And then let's just filter for Alabama. So as we build our viz here, we'll see the information for that particular state. We're going to grab the state field and drag it to rows, and also grab the name field and put that in rows. If prompted, you're going to add all members. Now we're going to drag the enrolled total measure to the marks card, not on any particular detail or tooltip, but just at the bottom of the marks card, you're going to drop it there. And the reason why we're dropping it there is so that we can use it to create a table calculation. And that's the calculation that we're going to be changing the header alias on. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the drop down arrow next to sum enrolled, and we're going to add a table calculation. And so we're going to leave it on difference from, and we're going to leave it on, we're going to change it compute using to specific dimension and uncheck name. Actually, check name and uncheck state. What this is going to do is it's going to show the difference, say, from Alabama A&M to Alabama State in their total enrollment values, and then from Alabama State to Amridge University, so on and so forth. So we're going to leave it on relative to the previous one, and it's sorted by specific dimensions. We're going to close that table calculation box. You notice table calculations have that triangular symbol to the right of them. So now we're going to drag our table calculation from the marks card to the column shelf. And the first thing we're going to address in the lower right, we've seen this on maps before, we have one null value. So we're going to click on it and filter the data to get rid of that. So we're seeing here, if we look at the top bar here, right? Well, the second bar, the difference in enrolled total from the previous, and it's showing the value. And each one is going down, showing the difference from the previous one based on name. We did that just so I can show you how to edit the alias. So if I go up to columns and I right click on the sum of enrolled total table calculation, I don't see anything that says aliases on this list. The only way we can do this is hold down Control, and we're going to click and hold on in sum of enrolled total table calc in columns and drag it and drop it into our data pane field list. So it will pop it in there, and it will give it the name calculation 1 or calculation 2. In my case, it's calculation 2. I had an old calculation in there before, which I'm going to get rid of now. So when I right click on my calculation 2, I still don't have aliases. However, I can rename it at this point. So I'm going to click rename, and I'm going to just call it difference from previous. And it updates on my column shelf. And it also updates now, you'll see in the axis at the bottom, it's reflecting that name. So here, if I wanted it to say something different on the axis, I could right click the axis, go to edit axis, And in the Edit Axis dialog, I could change the title manually down here, which is not changing the name of the table calculation. I'm not going to change the title. I'm just going to close that so I could show you that. And we're going to actually change this whole visualization, and we'll end up using it on a dashboard. So to change this, let's delete the table calculation from columns. And we're going to also delete the sum of enrolled total from the filter shelf. And we're going to go down and grab our enrolled total measure and just drag that to columns. We'll get rid of the 6 nulls by filtering the data, and that's why it puts that filter over there. This is actually the visualization that we want to work with here. We want to add a couple of things to it. Now, if it's not showing horizontal bars, go ahead and use your show me to grab the horizontal bars. And we want to put a couple of fields in detail. And so the fields that we want are, let's see if I can find them in the list. Okay, so I'm going to click on highest degree offered and hold down my control key and click on sector of institution, and then just drag those to detail on the marks card. And then let's hover over a mark so we can see the tooltip, and we want to edit it a bit. So let's click on tooltip, and we want the name to be up top. So I select it and cut it using Control X, click before highest degree, enter, up arrow, and Control V to paste. I'm going to reselect name, and I'm going to make it 11 point bold and orange, or whatever color you want. I want state to be next, so I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to click before highest degree offered, enter, up arrow, and paste. And then I'm going to get rid of the blanks. So we have name, state, highest degree, sector, and enrolled total, and click OK. So now when I hover over the tooltip, I can see that order and that formatting. We're going to switch it from standard to entire view. I'm going to go to color and change it to orange. And now you can do your filter drop down, look at other states. We made it single values drop down, so we can go and look at different states at a time. And now we're going to name this sheet Institutions by State with Enrollment Values, and save your workbook. Now, I'm going to just switch to Filmstrip, and I'm going to go back to our very first sheet, HBCUs and cities, and we're going to do our regular formatting things to get these sheets ready for a dashboard, for our dashboards that we're going to create. And so I'm going to just go to the Format menu and go to Shading. Going to shade the worksheet so it's that darker gray color that we've been using. Actually, I'm going to go a little bit lighter. So I'm doing the last one in the second column there. And then the other thing I want to do is get rid of the row banding. So under row banding, I'm going to choose none for the pane, and I'm going to choose none for the header. And then up top, I'm going to go to the font icon, and I'm going to make my worksheet font bold and white. And I'm also going to do the same for the title font, just make it bold and white. And then I'm going to go to my next sheet, and I'm going to do the same. So since I'm already on the font, I might as well do the worksheet here. And the title. And then I'm going to go to our paint bucket shading, and I'm going to do that gray shading for the worksheet and get rid of the row banding for both the pane and the header. And so I think the only sheet we're not going to do that on is the map sheet. Go ahead and pause the video, spend a few minutes, and use the same formatting that you're using on all of your sheets for consistency, with the exception of the map. And so now that we have that done, let's just take a look at the map sheet. And actually on the map sheet, I can do the workbook shading as well, and then just change the color of the title to our bold white color. So now we have our consistency, and we can close the format pane and save our file and go ahead and bring up a new dashboard sheet. So let's go ahead and size our dashboard. And we're going to go to the dashboard menu and choose format. And let's give the dashboard a darker gray shading. So I'm going to use the last one in the first column, the last gray one in the first column, I should say, slightly darker than our sheet shading. And I'm also going to change the title font to bold white. And then I can close that. Now what I'm going to do, because we're going to be creating, I believe, 3 dashboards. So let's copy that dashboard sheet and paste it twice, so we don't have to do our sizing or formatting again. And then go to the very first one. Let's go to the bottom and show our dashboard title. And I thought I put that in one. Well, I'll deal with that later. And then let's drag a tiled horizontal container into the view. And let's put HBCUs in cities in the container. And then we'll put all institutions HBCUs noted to the right side of it. And then we're going to double click the handle on either one to get our container handle to show. Go to the container drop down and distribute contents evenly. I'm going to change that. Go back to the container drop down and uncheck distribute contents evenly because I didn't like that sizing, right? And what we're going to do is on the right side, we're going to put our mouse on that dashed line. See if we can drag it to the right a little bit. And then we can put our mouse on, if it'll allow us. No, it won't let us do that. Let me go over to the other one, drag between the two of them. Trying to make this a little bit wider so we don't have all that blank space in between the two of them when we distribute them evenly. We're going to leave both of these titles on both of these sheets. And we're going to go up to, well, actually, let's cancel. And let's go to name the dashboard sheet, HBCU Institution Information, something like that. Yeah, my title didn't take the formatting. So I'm going to just go up to the title and select the sheet name placeholder and just change it to bold and white in there. And okay. And actually, I'm going to go back into the title and I'm going to center the title. And then okay again. Go ahead and save your file again and go to your next blank dashboard sheet. We're going to go ahead and drag a horizontal container into this one as well. And for this one, we're going to add all institutions in large cities and then all institutions in cities. Now, let's see what happens with this one if we go to the container drop down and say distribute contents evenly. And I'm going to uncheck it again. I don't like the way that gray space is. So then on the right side, I'll drag to the right a little bit. And then I'll click in the middle, drag to the left a little bit. And it's still going to have that blank space kind of over on the right. So I'm going to collapse that. We have this other panel over here, and that's fine. I actually not going to be able to be as successful with this one. There is going to be some space, so I'll get over myself. I mean, perhaps I could put some floating text boxes over there giving information, but for right now, I'm going to stop fiddling with it and save my file. And let's go to our next blank dashboard sheet. And for this dashboard, we're going to do, let's see, let's drag the map. Well, actually, let me put it in a horizontal container. Drag that on there first. And then let's drag the map of institutions into the container. And to the right of it, let's drag in the number of institutions by region. So now I had to drag this right pane over so I could see all of the cards and that visualization. And I'm going to make sure a number of institutions per region is selected. I'm going to do its drop down arrow, and I want to make it floating. So I'm going to just move it over a little bit. Then I want to make all of these, well, the enrolled total, let's remove that from the dashboard. We'll leave the population total on there, and we have the geographic region filter. Let's get rid of the count of name card, and then make all of those cards floating for now. And we'll move them around as necessary. So I'm just making them floating and dragging them onto the map for right now. And then what I'm going to do is expand the width of the container by dragging its right edge all the way over to the right. And I'm going to grab that number of institutions per region, pop it in there right next to the map, and widen it. And then I am going to drag its color legend right underneath it. And then I'm going to grab the geographic region filter and drag it underneath the color legend. And I'll drag the 2018 population thing to the right of the geographic filter. So the legend is for this institutions per region chart. I'm just scrolling over to see how much space I have left over there. And what I may do, let's see how this looks first. Size the chart down and put the legend right next to it. That would make a little bit more sense. Now it's kind of out of the container, but I can continue to drag that over. And then I can move both of these up just a little bit. I'm going to leave some space in between them and the chart. And then for geographic region filter, I want to edit its title. And before geographic region, I'm going to put filter the map for geographic region. And then I have to make that wider, of course, to show the whole title. So that way we're tying that filter to the map. So on the map, if I do the drop down and deselect all, the map disappears. But then when I select the Mid-East you can see that just that region is showing. I mean, you have the rest of the map showing with its population data layer on it. However, it's just highlighting the symbols on the map for Mideast. And we're going to change it back to all and collapse that filter. And I'm going to just take a look at this in presentation view. So I see that even though it looks like it on the viz, it's not cutting anything off because of the container. And then I'm going to escape to get out of presentation view. Now, I forgot to have us name the previous dashboard, so let's go back and name that sheet Institutions in Cities. And then for the map dashboard, we're going to do map of institutions. We'll just call it map of institutions. That's fine. Oh, well, we can't do that because that name already exists. So I'm going to call it institution map, and just going to name it institution map. And so up here, we're going to hide the title for the map, and we're going to show the dashboard title. And again, you might have to uncheck it to show it. And then, of course, I'm going to do my formatting, which is white, bold, and centered. And I probably want to do that. I just noticed a typo in my institutions on this previous dashboard. And then I want to show this dashboard title, format it. And you know what? Actually, on this one, I'm not going to show the dashboard title because I want each chart title to be there and named individually. This space is driving me nuts here. I'm just playing around with the spacing on here again. Let me see what happens now that I expanded the container if I distribute evenly. Yeah, it's still going to have that blank space. Okay, I'm done fiddling with it. Go ahead and save your file. And we can go ahead and close it at this point. And I'm, of course, going to get rid of that tile. So in this module, we began with creating a calculated field using the STARTSWITH function. And then we moved on to lesson 2, and we created several other calculated values as filters, one of which included a STARTSWITH function again. In lesson 3, we created our map. You learned how to add the layers and then format that data layer to the color scheme that you like. And throughout, we worked with the header aliases, the values aliases when we changed the geographic region field. And then at the end, we created a table calculation so you could learn how to kind of do an alias for headers, table calculation headers, but actually what you do is you're renaming the field. And then we moved on to creating 3 dashboards in the file. I'd like to thank everyone for viewing this course. Hopefully you've learned some good tips and techniques to use in Tableau. So by way of review, I'm going to just go over what we've covered module by module in here. The 5th module, we worked with the world population data set. And that's when you learned all the different rank functions and their variations in Tableau. And we were able to view all of them in the same text table. We moved on to talking about pivoting. We moved on to talk about correlation. And then we moved on to pivoting, validating data joins. And we created some dashboards, and then we learned how to create a story. We studied USA college data in Module 6. That's where you learned how to use the STARTSWITH function, which comes in really handy. And you learned how to use calculated values as filters. We learned how to format map layers during that module, as well as how to change values and headers aliases.